November 15th, 11:47 p.m. He walks through the front door, still tasting champagne from his secret celebration with his mistress. In the darkness, she sits waiting, motionless, silent. For 5 years, he's lived a double life, convinced his blind wife could never discover his web of lies and financial theft. Tonight, everything changes. She's been watching him for 3 weeks, seeing every deception, recording every betrayal. But what happens when the person you've been deceiving can suddenly see everything you've been hiding? Welcome to True Crime Journal HQ. Thanks to all our viewers and subscribers for your support. Stay with us for daily updates on the most shocking true crime stories. Don't forget to subscribe. Catalina was born in October 1990 in Sweetwater, Tennessee, population 6,000 towns. She grew up in a 2-bedroom rental where paint peeled from the shutters and hope lived in every corner. Her mother, Patricia, barely 19 when Catalina arrived, had been abandoned by her boyfriend the moment he learned about the pregnancy. But Patricia refused to let circumstances define their story. 3 jobs kept their family afloat. Mornings at the local diner, afternoons cleaning houses for wealthy families, weekends stocking grocery shelves. Catalina watched her mother work herself to exhaustion, never complaining, always dreaming of better days ahead through education. Money was scarce. Catalina wore donated clothes and made peanut butter sandwiches stretched between meals, but their tiny home overflowed with love and unwavering moral principles, honesty, kindness, hard work. Values that would make Vincent's future betrayal cut deeper than any knife. At school, Catalina blazed ahead academically. While classmates struggled with basic reading, she devoured novels meant for students 3 grades higher. Art became her second passion. Her natural talent amazed teachers and opened doorways to dreams beyond Sweetwater's limitations. High school brought part-time work at the hardware store, saving every penny while helping her mother pay bills. Her art teacher introduced her to art therapy, using creativity to heal trauma and emotional pain. This concept resonated deeply with Catalina, who wanted to help others find healing through expression. Senior year delivered her golden ticket, a full scholarship to the University of Georgia. That night, mother and daughter cried tears of joy in their small kitchen, knowing generations of dreams were finally within reach. At UGA, majoring in psychology with an art minor, Catalina maintained a 3.8 GPA while working part-time. Junior year brought Vincent Voss into her life, charming, confident, everything she wasn't. Have you ever trusted someone so completely that you'd put your entire future in their hands? You might know someone just like Catalina. If you're watching this without subscribing, ask yourself, what's stopping you from staying in the loop? Don't regret it later. Vincent proposed on Christmas Eve 2014 in Catalina's modest apartment. The ring was simple but beautiful, and through tears of joy, she said yes. Their June 2015 wedding at Sweetwater's Methodist Church was a fairy tale, Patricia beaming in the front row as her daughter married this successful, devoted man. The community instantly labeled them the golden couple. Vincent, the charming accountant from Atlanta's elite circles, and Catalina, the brilliant scholarship girl who'd overcome poverty through sheer determination. Neighbors watched them build their dream life in Millbrook Heights, a beautiful colonial home with white picket fence, dinner parties for Vincent's colleagues, charitable work that showcased Catalina's generous heart. For 3 blissful years, Catalina lived her happily ever after. She worked part-time at the community center while taking graduate courses online, steadily building toward her art therapy practice. Vincent seemed supportive, encouraging her dreams while climbing the corporate ladder at his accounting firm. They talked about children, vacations, growing old together. December 15th, 2018 shattered everything. Catalina was Christmas shopping alone, her back seat filled with carefully chosen gifts for Vincent and her mother. She stopped at a red light on Highway 58, humming along to holiday music, when a drunk driver slammed into her sedan at 60 miles per hour. The impact was catastrophic. Multiple surgeries followed weeks in intensive care. Doctors delivered crushing news: complete vision loss, recovery uncertain at best. Initially, Vincent appeared to be the perfect husband. He slept in hospital chairs, held her hand through painful procedures, promised that nothing would change between them. The community rallied around their tragedy. Meals, flowers, offers of help poured in. Local newspapers ran stories about Vincent's dedication, calling him a husband's devotion in action. But something shifted during Catalina's recovery period. Vincent noticed how completely she depended on him now, for everything. Navigation around their home, reading mail, handling finances, social interactions. She trusted his every word about their daily life, their friends, their world. Late one evening, 3 months after the accident, Vincent received a text from his attractive colleague Delilah about drinks after work. He glanced at Catalina sitting in their living room, headphones on, listening to an audiobook. She couldn't see his phone, couldn't see anything. "I'm working late tonight," he told her, testing the waters. "Big client presentation tomorrow." Catalina smiled, squeezing his hand. "You work so hard for us. I'll keep dinner warm." That night, Vincent didn't work late. He spent 4 hours at a downtown bar with Delilah, talking, laughing, feeling like his old self again. No responsibilities, no caregiving duties, no guilt. When he returned home at midnight, Catalina was asleep. She never questioned his story. That was Vincent's first lie. But it wouldn't be his last. What would you do if your partner suddenly became completely dependent on you? Vincent's manipulation was just the beginning. Don't let this story unfold without you. Click subscribe now, or you might miss the shocking twists to come. What started as one experimental lie quickly morphed into a masterclass in manipulation, spanning 4 devastating years. Vincent's deceptions began small, almost innocent. "Working late again tonight, honey. Thompson wants these reports first thing Monday." Catalina would prepare his favorite dinner, keeping it warm for hours. Meanwhile, Vincent grabbed drinks with colleagues, rediscovered his social life, tasted freedom again. When Catalina's friend Jessica called to visit, Vincent intercepted. "She's having a rough day," he'd tell Jessica. "Maybe next week?" Next week never came. Slowly, systematically, Vincent began controlling who could reach his wife. Enter Delilah Morrison, a striking brunette who joined Vincent's accounting firm in March 2019. Smart, ambitious, and completely unaware that Vincent was married to a disabled woman. During team meetings, Vincent found himself drawn to her confidence, her independence, everything Catalina could no longer be. By Valentine's Day 2020, Vincent and Delilah's professional relationship had crossed every line. Late-night strategy sessions became intimate dinners. Weekend client conferences became romantic getaways. Vincent crafted his double life with calculated precision. To Catalina, he remained the devoted husband, sacrificing his social life for her care. To Delilah, he painted himself as a lonely man trapped in a loveless marriage, staying only out of obligation to his helpless wife. The financial manipulation began quietly. Vincent redirected funds from their joint savings into a separate account Catalina couldn't access. 200 here for romantic dinners, 500 there for weekend hotels, 1,000 for the diamond bracelet he gave Delilah for her birthday. The same day he told Catalina they couldn't afford her physical therapy sessions. Vincent's lies became elaborate productions. "Regional conference in Nashville this weekend, babe. Boring accounting stuff, you'd hate it." Actually, he was taking Delilah to mountain cabins and beach resorts, creating memories he'd never share with his wife. The psychological manipulation intensified. When Catalina asked why her college friends never visited anymore, Vincent delivered his cruelest lie. "Honestly, I think your accident makes them uncomfortable. They don't know how to act around you now." Catalina's heart shattered. She'd suspected something was wrong but blamed herself. Vincent watched her withdraw further into isolation, exactly as he'd planned. "Maybe I should try calling them," Catalina suggested one evening. "Baby, you'll just embarrass yourself. They've moved on. We have each other, that's what matters. Has someone ever made you question your own reality?" Vincent's manipulation reached disturbing new heights. He intercepted phone calls, discarded mail from friends, and even lied about family events. "Your mum can't visit this month, she's dealing with her own health issues," he'd say when Patricia had actually called begging to see her daughter. Meanwhile, Vincent's relationship with Delilah deepened. They talked about their future together, planned vacations, even discussed Vincent leaving his burden of a wife. Delilah, believing Vincent's lies about his loveless marriage, encouraged him to file for divorce. But Vincent enjoyed his perfect setup too much. Why choose one life when he could have both? The most chilling aspect wasn't the affair itself, it was Vincent's methodical preparation. Every morning before leaving for work, he'd stand in their bedroom mirror practicing his lies for the day. "Sorry I'm late, honey. Traffic was insane on I-285. "Delilah? Oh, she's just a colleague, married with kids, totally boring." The client dinner ran longer than expected. You know how these corporate guys love to talk. He'd adjust his expression, perfect his tone, rehearse his responses to potential questions. Catalina, lying in bed just feet away, had no idea her husband was preparing for another day of betraying everything they'd built together. What's the worst betrayal you can imagine from someone you trust completely? Vincent thought he was invincible. After all, what could a blind woman possibly discover about his carefully constructed lies? He was about to find out. If this story shocks you, drop a comment saying, "I'm still here." Let's see who is really watching to this point, and make sure you subscribe now, before it's too late. While Vincent constructed his elaborate lies, Catalina lived in a world of complete dependence, trusting every word from the man she believed was sacrificing everything for her. Each morning began the same way. Vincent's alarm at 6:30, his kiss on her forehead, his gentle voice. "Morning, beautiful. Coffee's ready." She'd navigate carefully to the kitchen, fingers trailing along walls she'd memorized, finding her way to the breakfast he'd prepared. "You're so good to me," she'd whisper, squeezing his hand. "I don't know what I'd do without you." Vincent would smile, though she couldn't see it, and promise he'd always take care of her. Then he'd leave for another day of betrayal. Catalina's other senses had sharpened dramatically. She could identify Vincent's cologne from across the room, distinguish his footsteps from any visitors, detect mood changes in his voice. But these heightened abilities couldn't reveal the visual evidence of his deception, lipstick stains, hotel receipts, or the way he checked his phone constantly. The isolation was suffocating. When her phone rang, which happened less and less, Vincent would often answer for her. "She's resting," he'd tell callers. "I'll let her know you called." Messages that never reached her. What Catalina didn't know was that Jessica had called 47 times over 2 years. Her college roommate had driven to their house twice, only to be turned away by Vincent, who claimed Catalina was having a bad day and didn't want visitors to see her like this. Patricia, Catalina's mother, had begged repeatedly to visit, even offering to pay for the trip from Tennessee. Vincent told her the visits were too emotional for Catalina's recovery. Inside her dark world, Catalina battled waves of depression. She felt worthless, burdensome, forgotten by everyone, except Vincent. Some days she'd sit in their living room for hours, wondering if she'd become the disabled wife that people whispered about with pity. But Catalina was a fighter. She enrolled in Braille classes through the local disability center, determined to read again. She researched volunteer opportunities at children's hospitals, wanting to share her art therapy knowledge despite her limitations. Each time she mentioned these goals, Vincent found ways to discourage her. "The Braille Center is in a rough neighborhood, honey. I worry about you getting there safely." "Volunteer work sounds stressful. You're still recovering. Maybe next year." Slowly, Vincent convinced her that attempting independence was dangerous, that she needed him for everything. The cruelest part. Catalina felt grateful for his protection. She believed his lies about friends avoiding her, about the world being too dangerous for someone in her condition. She thanked him nightly for sacrificing his social life to care for her. But deep down, something felt wrong. Phone calls that ended abruptly when she entered rooms. Conversations Vincent claimed were about work that sounded oddly personal. The faint scent of unfamiliar perfume on his clothes that he explained as elevator encounters with clients. Have you ever felt completely alone, even when surrounded by people? Catalina's instincts whispered warnings she couldn't quite understand. Why did Vincent seem nervous when she asked about his day? Why were there long periods where he didn't answer her calls to his office? She dismissed these doubts as paranoia born from her disability. After all, Vincent was her devoted husband, her caretaker, her only connection to the world. How could she possibly know he was her greatest enemy? How can you not feel for Catalina at this moment? If you're watching this, you owe it to yourself to subscribe. Don't let this story slip through your fingers. October 2023 brought an unexpected phone call that would change everything, though Vincent had no idea. Dr. Chen from the University Medical Center contacted Catalina directly about an experimental treatment program. Advanced retinal surgery combined with stem cell therapy had shown remarkable success in patients with her specific type of vision loss. The catch? Complete confidentiality was required during the recovery process to protect the study's integrity. Don't tell anyone about the procedure, Dr. Chen advised. Not even your husband. We need to monitor your progress without external influences affecting the results. Catalina agreed, desperate for any chance to reclaim her independence. The surgery took place on a Tuesday, while Vincent was supposedly at a client conference. Actually a romantic getaway with Delilah in Savannah. Catalina arranged transportation through the medical center's patient services, telling Vincent she had routine therapy appointments. The first signs of returning vision were terrifying and miraculous. Blurry shadows gradually sharpened into recognizable objects. Light sensitivity forced her to wear dark glasses, which helped maintain her secret. When Vincent returned from his trip, Catalina pretended nothing had changed. She continued using her white cane, navigating by memory, asking him to read mail aloud. But secretly, she was seeing him for the first time in 5 years. He looked different than she remembered. Older, yes, but also guilty. There was something in his expression when he thought she wasn't looking, a mixture of irritation and calculation that chilled her. By the second week, Catalina could make out details clearly. She watched Vincent take phone calls he claimed were business-related, but his body language told a different story. The way he smiled during conversations, his flirtatious tone, the careful way he positioned himself away from her. One evening, she heard him whisper into his phone, "I miss you too, baby. Just a few more hours and I'll be there." When he hung up, he turned to Catalina with practiced concern. "Sorry, honey. Emergency at the office. I'll be working late tonight." Catalina's heart pounded, but she kept her voice steady. "Of course. Don't worry about dinner." After he left, she sat in their darkened living room, seeing clearly for the first time in years, and hating every moment of it. The third week brought devastating clarity. Catalina watched Vincent live his double life with shocking brazenness. She observed him hide his phone when she entered rooms, noticed expensive cologne he claimed was a client gift, saw him practice facial expressions before conversations. But nothing prepared her for what she discovered in his home office. While Vincent was at work, Catalina searched through financial documents she could finally read. Credit card statements revealed expensive restaurants she'd never been to, hotel charges for romantic getaways, jewelry purchases that never appeared under their Christmas tree. A bank statement showed their joint savings account had been drained from $47,000 to $3,200 over 3 years. Money she'd inherited from her grandmother, money meant for her art therapy practice, had funded Vincent's affair. Photos hidden in his desk drawer showed Vincent with a beautiful brunette woman at beaches, restaurants, mountain cabins, the same places he'd told Catalina were boring business conferences. What would be going through your mind in this moment? The moment that shattered Catalina's world came on a Thursday morning. She watched from their bedroom doorway as Vincent stood before their mirror, practicing lies for the day ahead. "Sorry I'm late, baby. The presentation ran over," he rehearsed, adjusting his expression to look apologetic. "Delilah's having marital problems, so I stayed to listen. You know how emotional women get." He checked his reflection, satisfied with his performance, then grabbed his keys and kissed Catalina goodbye, the same lips that had just practiced deceiving her. After he left, Catalina collapsed onto their bed, 5 years of suppressed rage finally erupting. She screamed until her throat was raw, threw pillows across the room, and wept for the naive woman who'd trusted so completely. but grief quickly transformed into something more dangerous. Cold, calculating fury. How do you think you'd handle discovering such massive betrayal? Catalina began planning. She documented everything: photos, financial records, voice recordings. She researched divorce attorneys, private investigators, and Vincent's company policies about employee misconduct. Most importantly, she planned her confrontation with surgical precision. Vincent thought he was married to a helpless, dependent woman. He was about to discover he'd been living with someone far more dangerous, a betrayed woman with nothing left to lose. Do you think Catalina's revenge is justified? Tell us where you are watching from, and don't just sit there. Subscribe and stay with us for the jaw-dropping payoff. You won't regret it. November 15th, 11:47 p.m. Vincent stumbled through the front door, champagne still on his breath from celebrating Delilah's promotion at their favorite restaurant. He'd told Catalina he was at a mandatory board meeting. In reality, he'd spent the evening promising Delilah he'd finally leave his helpless wife by Christmas. The house felt different tonight, too quiet, too still. "Catalina?" Vincent called out, loosening his tie. "Sorry I'm late, honey. The meeting ran forever. You know how these corporate types love to hear themselves talk." "I'm in the living room," came her voice from the darkness. Vincent found her sitting in her usual chair, but something was wrong. The lights were dimmed, and she wasn't wearing her dark glasses. Her head was turned toward the window instead of toward his voice. "How was your board meeting?" Catalina asked, her tone strangely calm. "Boring as hell," Vincent replied, sticking to his script. "Henderson droned on about quarterly projections for 2 hours. I barely stayed awake." "That's interesting," Catalina said slowly, turning to face him for the first time in 5 years. "Because I can see you, Vincent, and I watched you practice that exact lie in our bedroom mirror this morning." The color drained from Vincent's face. What did you say?" "I said I can see you." Catalina stood up, her movements confident and deliberate. "Every lie, every deception, every betrayal. I've been watching you for 3 weeks. Vincent's mind raced, panic setting in. "Baby, you're confused. The doctor said your vision couldn't. The doctors were wrong." Catalina pulled out her phone, hitting play on a recording. Vincent's voice filled the room. "I miss you too, baby. Just a few more hours and I'll be there." Vincent lunged for the phone, but Catalina stepped back smoothly. "That was Tuesday night. The night you told me you were working late on tax returns." "Catalina, please, let me explain." "Oh, you don't need to explain anything. I've seen quite enough." Her voice was ice cold now. "I've seen you with Delilah Morrison. I know about the hotels, the restaurants, the jewelry you bought her with my grandmother's inheritance money." Vincent tried his familiar gaslighting tactics. "You're having an episode. The trauma from your accident." "The trauma?" Catalina laughed bitterly. "The only trauma was discovering I married a sociopath." She moved to the coffee table, picking up a thick folder. "This contains everything, Vincent. Bank statements showing you stole $44,000 from our joint account. Photos of you and Delilah in Savannah, Nashville, Asheville. Credit card receipts from restaurants you claimed were business dinners." Vincent's legs felt weak. "How did you get all this evidence?" "I've had 3 weeks of perfect vision while you thought I was still blind. Amazing what a person can accomplish when they're not being lied to every second of the day." But Catalina wasn't finished. The real revenge was just beginning. "I've been busy, Vincent, very busy. Tuesday, I called Delilah and played her the recordings of you calling her a convenient distraction while promising me you'd never leave. She was upset." Vincent's face went white. "You didn't—" "Wednesday, I sent copies of everything to your boss at Morrison Associates. Apparently, embezzling company resources for personal affairs violates several employment policies. Thursday, I had lunch with your mother. Such a lovely woman. She was fascinated to learn about your secret life. Your father wants to see you immediately." Vincent collapsed into a chair, hyperventilating. "This isn't happening. This can't be happening." "Oh, but we're just getting started." Catalina's smile was terrifying in its calmness. "You remember your brother Michael, the one who always thought you were a selfish bastard? Well, he's been very supportive during my difficult time. In fact, he's been visiting quite regularly while you were with Delilah." The implication hit Vincent like a physical blow. "You didn't—" "Let's just say Michael appreciates a woman who's been through real hardship, unlike his lying, cheating brother." Vincent tried to stand, but his legs wouldn't support him. "Catalina, please, we can work this out." "We can work out nothing." She pulled out another document. "Divorce papers, already filed. I'm keeping the house, half your retirement, and compensation for the money you stole. My lawyer says I have an excellent case." "But wait, there's more." Catalina's voice turned deadly serious. "While reviewing your creative accounting, I discovered some interesting discrepancies in your tax filings. The IRS is very interested in your unreported income from those client consulting fees that mysteriously matched your affair expenses. Was Catalina's revenge justified?" Vincent's world collapsed completely. His job, his family, his marriage, his freedom, everything destroyed in one night. He began sobbing, begging, promising to change. But Catalina felt nothing except cold satisfaction as she watched the man who'd exploited her blindness finally see the truth clearly. What would you have done differently? You thought you knew betrayal. Think again. If you haven't subscribed yet, do you even want to know the full story? Hit subscribe now before you regret it. The legal aftermath of Catalina's revelation was swift and merciless. Vincent's divorce proceedings became a public spectacle. Catalina's evidence was so comprehensive that Vincent's attorney advised him to accept her terms, rather than face criminal charges for financial fraud. The settlement granted Catalina the house, 70% of their assets, and restitution for the stolen inheritance money. But the courtroom was just the beginning of Vincent's downfall. Morrison Associates terminated Vincent immediately after reviewing Catalina's evidence. Company policy strictly prohibited using firm resources for personal affairs, and Vincent's expense account showed thousands in fraudulent charges. Worse, several clients pulled their accounts upon learning about his deception, costing the firm nearly $2 million in lost revenue. The community's reaction was explosive. Millbrook Heights, which had once praised Vincent as the devoted husband, now whispered about him with disgust. Neighbors who'd admired his sacrifice felt foolish and betrayed. Social media exploded with support for Catalina and condemnation of Vincent's cruelty. Delilah Morrison faced her own reckoning. When Catalina played Vincent's recordings calling her a convenient distraction and easy entertainment, Delilah realized she'd been manipulated as thoroughly as Catalina. Furious at being used, she provided additional evidence against Vincent to prosecutors. Her own marriage crumbled, and she lost her job for violating company ethics policies. Vincent's family disowned him completely. His parents, horrified by his treatment of Catalina, publicly apologized to her and cut off all financial support. His brother Michael, who genuinely developed feelings for Catalina during her difficult period, testified on her behalf during the divorce proceedings. The IRS investigation revealed systematic tax evasion spanning 5 years. Vincent faced federal charges for unreported income and fraudulent deductions. The legal fees alone bankrupted him, forcing him to sell his BMW and move into a studio apartment across town. Meanwhile, Catalina blossomed in ways nobody expected. Using the settlement money and her grandmother's recovered inheritance, she opened Healing Canvas, the art therapy practice she'd dreamed about for years. The center specialized in helping trauma survivors, particularly women who'd experienced betrayal and abuse. Catalina's story of overcoming deception inspired her clients and became a powerful tool in their healing process. Local media covered the practice's opening, praising Catalina's resilience and transformation from victim to victor. She appeared on talk shows discussing manipulation tactics and recovery strategies, becoming an advocate for disability rights and domestic abuse awareness. Was this justice or revenge? Could Vincent have been redeemed? Vincent attempted reconciliation numerous times, sending letters begging forgiveness and promising change. Catalina never responded. She'd learned that some betrayals are too profound for redemption, some trust too shattered for repair. 2 years later, Catalina married Michael in a small ceremony, attended by friends who'd been blocked from seeing her during her darkest period. Her mother, Patricia, finally able to visit regularly, walked her down the aisle with tears of joy. Vincent watched the wedding announcement from his studio apartment, facing 5 years in federal prison for tax evasion. What's the most important lesson from Catalina's story? Where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments. Have you ever experienced or witnessed similar betrayal? Share your thoughts below. I'm reading every single one. Still not subscribed? After everything you've seen, do you really want to miss out on what comes next? Subscribe now, or tell us in the comments why you won't.